tourist attraction is a place of interest where tourists visit. In Ghana, we embrace all walks of race in the country. We do not discriminate among people. Each and every country has got its reputation to protect and preserve, as well as the country Ghana. The beauty of the country Ghana is in all aspects, being it culture, food, people, cities, and the general living of its people. Like in global economy, tourism in Ghana is one of the fastest growing sectors in the country. Tourism is traveling to and staying in places outside unusual environments for not more than one consecutive year for leisure, business, and other purposes. It could also be described as something associated with international travel or traveling to another place within the same country. In Ghana, we do all that tourism is about. My name is Anika Prempe, and I have with me here Prince, the CEO of Kenzola Foundations, and we're going to talk about tourism, the beauty of the arts in Ghana. And again, here at the Ghana Tourism Authority, we are going to speak to a representative here to tell us more about the year of return, beyond the return, and its consequences with COVID-19. My name is Anika Prempe. Stick and stay with me as I take you through the journey of tourism and also the beauty of the arts in the country called Ghana. Are you ready? Yeah. I'm excited. Let's move. Ghana's year of return in 2019 marked 400 years since the first enslaved African reached America. It was also the year Ghana's president, Nana Akufo-Addo, invited all people of African descent to return to the continent, specifically Ghana, to rethink their identity and reclaim their roots. Let's go and learn more about this wonderful initiative from Ghana Tourism Authority.
Don't tell me you've forgotten us. Your lost children living anonymous in a very strange land where them carried us. And it must be a natural phenomenon, how we still can remember where we're coming from, even through the brainwashing curriculum, up through the ages and millenniums. Last 400 years has been fabulous. We've been working as slaves, living ravenous, but to over the years they can be hazardous.
So I'm here with the Deputy Corporate Affairs Officer of the Ghana Tourism Authority, and he's going to tell us more about the year of return, beyond the return, and of course about the tour that we are doing. Welcome, sir.
Thank you. May I say Akwaba to everyone. My name, once again, is Kofi Atakakrakusi, the Deputy Corporate Affairs Director of the Ghana Tourism Authority. The year of return, beyond the return. These are two phrases that brings up fond memories in 2019. In 2019, we had the year of return. The year of return really had much impact on the Ghanaian economy, and more especially the UX economy. As everybody would recall, it was 400 years since the first Black Africans were picked from Jamestown in Accra to Jamestown in Virginia. And this commemoration had led to an influx of tourists and African Americans into our country, and it has helped to boost our economy. Follow up to that, we have Beyond the Return. Beyond the Return is a follow-up of the year of return that was very successful last year. And what we have done is that we have put together a national planning committee, and 7 pillars have been unveiled. These 7 pillars, we urge everyone to kindly and respectfully get into the realism of these pillars. We have Celebrate Ghana, we have Invest in Ghana, we have Diaspora Pathways to Ghana, and a host of others. Like I mentioned, there are 7 of them. So all these pillars goes to impinge on the Beyond the Return. We are asking our African American brothers, people of African descent, to get back to Africa, help build our continent, and then also invest in our economy. That would help boost Africa, because Africa keeps rising, and we shall continue to be the best. Thank you.
Come with me on this happy trip back to the promised land. All will be happy and good.
Tourism in Ghana has rocketed beyond the borders of the country and to the rest of the world. It is also fused with creativity, which cuts across from music, dance, food, fashion, the arts, and craft, which are really helping the growth of the economy. Now, the arts is very important, and Ghana is poised to making the country popular around the world and attracting visitors and foreigners through arts. Things like wooden sculptures, ceramics, kente cloth, wooden carvings, beads, paintings, among other beautiful artifacts, can also be seen in the center of Accra, the capital city where tourists can visit. This symbolizes and represents the rich culture and heritage we have as a country. Hey, so my name is Nanekia Prempe. Once again, I'm here with the Chief Executive Officer of Kenzola Foundation, and he's going to tell us a little bit about the foundation and, of course, about the tour that we are doing today. You're welcome.
Thank you. My name is Prince Amin Anas, the CEO of Kenzola Group of Companies. Actually, the idea behind this tour is bringing brothers and sisters from diaspora to Mother Ghana to have the taste of Mother Africa. Ghana, to be precise. Ghana is calling all brothers and sisters all over the world to come and have a taste of Africa, to invest, networking, and the culture, the most important, or that shows you who you are. We need all brothers and sisters all over the world to come to Ghana. Thank you very much.
This is our journey to Cape Coast Castle. Cape Coast Castle is one of more than 40 slave castles which was built in the then Golden Coast by European traders. It was originally a Portuguese feitoria or trading post established in 1555. Cape Coast Castle is the largest of the buildings which contains the legacy of the transatlantic slave trade and is a UNESCO World Heritage Site. Like most ancient fortifications in Ghana, Cape Coast Castle played a significant role in the golden slave trades, but also two significant contributions were made here with the arrival of the Christianity and the establishment of the first formal education system through castle schools. A guided tour of the Cape Coast Castle will acquaint you with many interesting features, including Dazzle Tower, the slave dungeons, and the canoes and the mortars used in the castle's defense. Now, the West African Historical Museum is also located inside Cape Coast Castle and contains a growing collection of art and cultural objects, including ceremonial drums, old muskets, shackles from the slave trade, and ancient pottery. Come on, let's learn something.
Male slave dungeon. It looks like a tunnel. I don't know. Let me try and see if I could get a step inside and see exactly how it looks like. But to be honest with you, oh my God, you need to come here and see. I don't know what to say. I'm short of words. I'm really, really short of words. So human beings, children of Adam, were kept here. Why? For no reason. My heart is broken. Oh my God. I mean, brothers and sisters all over the world, I think, especially my brothers of diaspora, you got to come here and see for yourself exactly what will happen in those days. Thank you very much.
All of you are warmly welcome to the historic Cape Coast Castle. My name is Sebastian Kwamina Tete, and I'm actually going to be your tour guide within the next 45 minutes to maximum about an hour. Well, wonderful guests on the tour, you are allowed to ask questions. At the same time, you can contribute to exactly what we are doing here.
Great.
But before we start the walking tour, where you are is known as Cape Coast Castle, which was built 1665 by the British. This place is about 354 years, and it's actually the youngest of the three castles built in Ghana. And talk of three castles, we have St. George's Castle or Elmina Castle, which was built by the Portuguese 1482, which is about 537 years. The oldest and the biggest European stone in sub-Saharan Africa. There is another one in Accra, Osu Castle or Christiansborg Castle, built by the Danes in 1661, 357 years. But Cape Coast Castle, being the youngest, was built at a time when transatlantic slave trade was at the highest level. Because of that, the dungeons here in Cape Coast Castle were built much bigger, to hold about 1,500 people at the same time. The people that were brought here were not all Ghanaians. They brought them in from several parts of Africa. But the biggest number came from West Africa. From so many West African nations, African men, women, they had to walk barefooted, either tied up or in shackles and chains, till they find themselves here. When they find themselves here in Cape Coast Castle, there is a place known as Palava Hall, which was the market or the auction block. They would send the men, the women, gold and lots of other materials to that part. Doctors and nurses will examine the people to determine their age and strength. After that, people that are fit to be bought, yes, they will be bought by the European merchants. Those that are very weak and sickly, whoever brought them will have to take them back to where they got them from. Then after doing that, they have to hold them in storage spaces. That is the dungeons. They will wait in the dungeons for at least 2 weeks to maximum 3 months for the arrival of the slave ships. But before they sent them into the dungeons, each group of African men, women that arrived here were owned separately by lots of British European companies. So these companies will avoid confusions amongst themselves over the ownership of the strongest of the people. And by doing so, they will put metals with their initials on them into fire. It heats up. They pull it out. They smear that part of the body with oil. Then they'll be branded. Sometimes shock from that burning iron ends up killing some people. But those that survive, the men will go into the male dungeon, women in the women's dungeon. And please, people that came here, majority of them came in as prisoners of wars. If they came in as prisoners of wars, the question here is, who was bringing them? Before the Europeans arrived, endangered servitude was a thing that existed amongst local African tribes. There were lots of intertribal wars. There were, wrongdoers in the society, orphans, debtors, and lots of other people. At that time, when they get these people, they use them domestically. You will construct so you get a place to sleep. You will farm so you get food to eat. And at some point, these servants will have children. Their children never become servants to their masters because they have nothing to do with their masters. And servants could even buy their freedom at some point in their lives. They can purchase a land, they can start a small village, and they can even become chiefs of that village. So look at the system of slavery amongst Africans at that time. The Europeans had supposedly discovered the Americas. They had plantations, they needed labor, so they were here looking for labor. Yes, they were looking for labor, yet they started capturing people, but they realized that we can't always go out there and capture. We have to go to the Africans themselves and get people from them too. So they started dealing with the Africans, and the Africans started bringing them African men, women, gold, and lots of other things. Whenever Africans brought Africans, Europeans never gave them money in exchange. Because European money at that time had no value to any African around here at that time. That's why they practiced what we call the barter system of trade. So they exchanged materials. And the materials the Europeans gave to Africans, looking at it, was very cheap. Talk of guns, gunpowder, whiskey. I turned off the light. And ladies and gentlemen, starting from this very room, all the way down to the fifth or the last room on the other side, this whole space is what we call the male dungeon. The male dungeon is designed for about 1,000 African men maximum, at least 700 men. So when we say 1,000 men, it doesn't mean 1,000 men will be crammed up in this room, but then they'll be spread out throughout the whole space. Looking at the 5 compartments or 5 chambers, then we will mathematically state that each room will hold about 200 people. But while they were here, there were wooden buckets placed around in the rooms. You will have to find a way to defecate in that bucket. And they were in shackles and chains. At the same time, these holes were the only source of light and air they had. Imagine this place being very dark, trying to move from where you are to the bucket placed in here to defecate, and all the time you get flies coming through the holes, spreading diarrhea, malaria, fever, and lots of other diseases, plus shackles and chains on you, slowing you down, and the population slowing you down. Would you even make it to the bucket? That is why people will sit where they are. They will just defecate, urinate, and stay at the same place. And they were fed twice every day. You will have to eat in your palm. And since they were not taking their shower, if you are eating, you don't wash your hand. And food they gave them was nothing to satisfy anybody though. Just to keep you going from time to time. And aside that, the floor of the dungeon was built a bit higher than each other, with trenches from here all the way down to that side. So from ascending order to descending order to the 5th room, which means every liquid waste from this room will run through the 2nd, through the 3rd, 4th, and 5th room. They will enter the sea from the 5th room. But imagine yourself staying in the 5th room for about 3 months, the amount of waste you are going to see in the dungeon. That is why some people were found dead, lying in the dungeons sometimes. They will pick up the dead bodies, dispose of them into the ocean. And whenever they did that, they knew that a body can come lying on the shore the next day. That is why they tied it up with a stone or a cannonball. They drop it, it sinks. And because of the darkness in here, whenever they sent people out, they normally went partially blind. They couldn't see properly. But the sad thing of all is the Europeans, while they were here doing all these, had the first church of England built in this country above the male dungeon. They were there worshiping God. And as they did, Africans were here going through this. Together, Christianity and slave trade lasted in this very castle almost 200 years. Because of all these, sometimes people come thinking against Christianity and everything, but that's not what we are here talking about. Well, wonderful people, this floor we are standing on is the original floor. It's the original floor because it was excavated around 1974 by the archaeological department from the University of Ghana, led by Professor J.B. Ankwanda. But when we go to the other room, the floor there is not original because when the slave trade was almost over, the Europeans decided to stop cleaning. So they moved people outside. Instead of Africans coming to clean the place up, they would order to cover everything up with sand. They would bring the people back to sleep on top of it. So it's feces, urine, and so many things caked up on the floor with sand on top of it like that. And that is what I call the DNA of the Africans that were made to stay here some years ago. Well, we are going over there to walk on top of it, but I will humbly as we take off our shoes and walk barefooted. I'm just kidding. So the first Church of England we talked about is what we have right at the top of the male dungeon right here, this very small building. The first Church of England in Ghana. Wonderful people. Talking about churches, the Europeans always brought missionaries with them when they came to trade. But then there came a time they realized that their missionaries were dying very fast. So they came up with an idea of sending Africans from here to that side to be trained as priests. They will come and work here. So that's where this man comes in. Philip Kweku, Reverend Philip Kweku. Around 1741, he was born to the royal family here in Cape Coast. His father, Obrin Ponkojo, was a middleman, bringing people to the Europeans to send abroad. So he had the opportunity and realized that the Europeans have been schooling their own kids they were having with African women around here in the castle. And these kids I call mulattoes and mulattresses. He brought the son. When he brought the son, other wealthy local merchants also brought their kids. That's how come they were able to send about 3 of these boys in 1753 to England, Thomas, William, and Philip. But while they were there, Thomas William died. It was only Philip that survived. Philip, at the age of 24, was ordained the first black African priest. So then, he served a year in the Anglican Church of Canterbury. Then after serving a year, they brought him to Cape Coast Castle. He worked in the church above the dungeon from 25 years to 75 years of his demise. And when he died, he was buried amidst the Europeans. Every 17th of October, all Anglican schools and churches in Cape Coast, they come here to celebrate him. Why? Because if you talk of Western education, when this man returned, he promoted it mostly here in Cape Coast. That's why most people, they see Cape Coast to be the center of education in Ghana. He pioneered it. And there's a school named after him, Philip Kweku Boys School, the first boys' school in the whole of West Africa. Just a stone throw away from the castle. We have C.B. Whitehead, the teacher, Elizabeth London, and George McLean. 3 Europeans. C.B. Whitehead coming in around 1810 as an army officer and a lawyer, died 1812 at the age of 38. What killed him was not documented. Letitia, Elizabeth London, and George McLean, husband and wife. Around 1830, George McLean arrived. Staying here for about 8 years, Letitia visited. She was tired of staying away from the husband. When she got here, within 2 months in the same year, she was found dead in the husband's bedroom. And there were rumors that she poisoned herself. Because upon her arrival, she realized the husband had been seeing a very lovely African lady. Others were saying she might have died of malaria, which was killing lots of Europeans around here. At the same time, people were saying she might have been poisoned by the husband just to be with his African girlfriend. But then after the wife's death, the man still stayed with his African girlfriend for about 10 years. So the whole thing raises eyebrow, but we don't say. And George McLean, after staying here for about 17 years, died of a confirmed malaria parasite at the age of 46 in the year 1847. you're looking at will be the only original door in this castle, the oldest European fitting in this building. It has got copper on the outside and pitch pine wood on the inside. So the wood is coated with copper to make sure it lasts. But then this cell was designed for European soldiers, the ones that got drunk and misbehaved most of the times in the castle. They were checked by letting them stay here a few hours. They had light, they had air, they gave them food and water. And whenever they were sober, they were allowed to go. But there were African men that sometimes stood up for themselves. They fought to have their freedom by all means necessary. The Europeans saw them to be a threat. So they will beat these people up to a pulp and throw them all the way in the back, lock them up with two doors, separating them from the Europeans here. If you are out there, there will be no light. There will be no air. There will be no food and water. You stay there until you die, and when you die, they pick up the dead bodies, making sure everybody in the dungeon is out at the courtyard to witness the body being carried out of here, being thrown into the ocean, just to serve as an example that you cannot get up the next time and do the same thing again. Come up here. You realize that the atmosphere here is very different, and you kind of like it more than the other side. But wonderful people, this very space we are seeing, or we are in now, was designed as a market. It's not just this. Various halls from here all the way down to the other side. So they'll be here trading in humans. Other people will be on the other side trading in gold. Others will be over there trading in other stuff. So this whole space was a market for them. And whenever they brought the people, there were doctors, there were nurses, merchants. This is where they bargained for the price and did everything before they were branded in the courtyard, then sent them into the dungeons. And this space is called Palaver Hall. The palaver as in, confusion, because there were lots of arguments over prices of commodities that went on here. So this is where they, always, battle back and forth over prices. Yes. From here, let's go see the governor's bedroom and hall, and then from there we're going to go back down and see the female side. Please come. Look at the bush. Up over here. You see the white building with the red pointy top? It is called Fort Williams, built there to protect this castle from attackers. The reason is if you are here in the castle, you don't see farther on land and farther on the sea than if you're over there. That's the highest point. And we have two of these towers, Fort Williams and Fort Victoria. So they stay out there on the lookout, and whenever they saw attackers coming to attack those in the castle, they give them signals using flags in the morning, mirrors in the afternoon when the sun is brightly up, and lights in the evenings. And where we have the shops all around serve as the soldiers' barracks. European soldiers, about 250 of them were here manning the fort. So that's where they stayed. But when we move away from this floor, the next floor we see there, the tiles are marble tiles. These marble tiles are original, imported from India around 1700s by the British. While the British were in India, they actually enslaved lots of Indians, took them to several parts of the world too, the Caribbean and several African nations. But today, if we are talking the biggest Indian population outside of India in the world, we will find them precisely in Durban, in South Africa. That's where they sent those to them. We have a communication room here. When we talk about communication, we're not talking about WhatsApp, Instagram, Facebook, or anything. We are talking about the person standing in there 24 hours, receiving signals from the fort up on the hill. And there's a hole in there. When you peep through, you see the fort ahead of you straight with no distraction. So that's where they stood and checked for signals. Let's go up to the top. Let's see the governor's bedroom and home. This is actually my favorite part of the castle. Actually had this whole space to himself. The governor, in charge of everything in the castle, he lived up here. Without his wife and children, he will be here. And if you look around, we have 9 windows on the living room. On the bedroom, there are 5 windows. At the main entrance, 2 windows, 16 windows. Just for one person, Ekume. He lives here, all by himself, enjoying all these. In the dungeons, you saw how Africans were living their lives. And as I said earlier, I bring you up here to enjoy the fresh air, to cool down, because it's very hot. At the same time, I bring you up here to see the contrast, how the Europeans were living and how Africans, lived. Please, you can go through the bedroom, and then from the bedroom, we go back down. So since we had a fort up on the hill to make sure nobody comes to attack the castle, the same way they had all these cannons and cannonballs, which are very much original, made of cast iron, used in protecting the castle as well. So when they see all these attackers with their vessels on the ocean, they load the cannons with gunpowder, they set the cannonballs, they fire them. The balls will fly out, destroy the boat, water enters it, sinks it. And sometimes when people come around, they ask, so they think they have some slave ships underneath there. That is why Samuel Jackson came over and did the whole movie on it. Yes. And that was shot at the castle here. Yes, he did. He did. So look for that movie and watch it. Like that underneath, all the way to that end. So this is the underground passage. And please, as the men walked down, since European soldiers were not in there with them, they were up here with a gun, checking from here, checking from there. When you go to the side as well, they were checking until we went out of the tunnel. And that's exactly what we are going to see. So nobody was going down from here. Nobody was coming up. It was only the European soldiers that stood here with a gun, checking on the African men that were going through. And as I told you earlier, while the African men were being pushed through the underground passage, there were African overseers who held lanterns and whips, checking on their own brothers to make sure they are moving. Why were the Europeans still checking on them at every point? Because they never trusted any of the Africans in here. Will be the strong women that will never allow the Europeans to abuse them in any way. They will always fight back. While they send the men over there to that side to stay there till, death comes to them, the women will be brought here for about a week maximum with a very heavy door on this one. That small hole there was where they give them food and water once a day. That's their source of air and light as well. And then when they are sober, they bring them out. They go back into the female dungeons. But if you are here, you will have to defecate and urinate in this hole here. Yes. And this is actually connected to the drainage. So when rain falls, it flushes everything out into the ocean. Out of the castle, and we are bringing the torch one end here. Before we leave, behind the door of no return, we saw it boldly written, door of return, allowing all of us to go back to the castle. Well, of all these Africans the Europeans sent out of Africa, at some point in their lives, they became free. When they became free, they decided if we are free Africans, it's best we go back to the continent where we were taken from to celebrate our freedom for the whole world to know that we are back home at last. They had challenges organizing a trip, but finally in the year 1998, they were able to go to Ghana to celebrate Emancipation Day, which was themed the Great Homecoming. On their arrival, they were carrying 2 caskets. In the caskets were mortal remains of ex-slaves, exhumed from New York, Samuel Carson, Jamaica, Madam Crystal. They brought them to a village on your way from Accra to Cape Coast called Abanze. And Abanze is where we have Fort Amsterdam. Through Fort Amsterdam, lots of people from that area were sent to Suriname. So they performed the ceremony there. Afterwards, they brought them by the ocean to this very shore we saw. At the shore, they carried the caskets, walked them up through the door of no return, and immediately that was done. Automatically, the chains of door of no return was broken after a ceremony. They sent them to the courtyard, they finished whatever they were doing, then they sent the remains to Asinma's slave river, or the slave market, where they were reburied. Telling every African that was taken away that even if all of them are dead today, their kids can go back home and find their roots or wherever they were taken from. That is why we have door of return outside, and on the wall we have this plaque saying Akwaba, which means welcome. It's here welcoming whoever leaves and goes back to the castle through door of return. And you all here just did that, so I officially say Akwaba to everyone. Welcome back. But then wonderful guests, as you're leaving, all I can say is that slavery still exists in our world in so many different forms as people will see it go on. But then most of the times, the best we do is keeping quiet, walking away peacefully, and enjoying our peace of mind. But then if you are at peace with yourself, living in a world that is not at peace with itself, what good will that be of you? If this doesn't affect you today, trust me, tomorrow it might come back to you. That is why I'm pleading that when you walk out of here now and you see any form of slavery going on the streets, please don't keep quiet. Do something about it. Even if it's just a little bit, just do it. Change someone's life. And I know for sure that when you change their life, they will also change another person's life. Then communities will change, nations will change, the world will get better. When the world is better, I know I won't have to look for where you are, ask you to go out there and have fun, because automatically, if you are at peace with yourself, you are a happy person. People that are happy always see fun, knock on their doors. They don't go looking for fun.
Actually, it's a lot of questions that just keep lingering in my mind for some time, and no one seems just to help me out with it. But you sound very eloquent, like you know what you're talking about. Okay, I would like to know what was the offense of the black man, like to be slave, because I got this kid in the United States asking, he's a white guy, and he sympathizes with the black people. But he asked me, so why would the black people allow a fellow human being?
Okay, so this at that time, when the Europeans came, as I was talking about earlier, there was that system of slavery amongst Africans themselves, but that was indentured servitude. It was not chattel slavery, so it was very flexible. But then the Europeans came in and at some point realized that, hey, we have to send some of these Africans out there to our plantations, mines, and others to work. And then they started, talking to the tribal heads about it, not letting them know that they need the people to do all this stuff over there. So the tribal heads also decided, well, if you need the people to work, we are using them to work as well. We can give you some of the people. And then in return, we are going to take some of your guns and your merchandise you brought. So they started doing that. That has not mean at some point the Africans never realized the brutality Africans were going through at the hands of white men. They found out about it, but you and I know that when people become very addicted to something, it becomes a lot difficult for them to stay away from it. So they still went ahead and did it anyway. And at some point too, they were doing it out of greed and the love of money.
Thank you very much. Just finish our talk. Very, very interesting explanation and the deep story, history of our brothers and sisters in diaspora. Very, very touching. My heart was broken, but hey, man, I got no choice. I'm just calling my brothers and sisters all over the world. This is Ghana, Africa. This is your roots. Come here and have that taste of where you belong.
We've seen it all. We are at the Cape Coast Castle and we've learned a lot today. So just as Prince said, we are calling all our brothers and sisters from the diaspora to come and learn more about our culture, have fun, invest, and then let's work with everyone. The people here are very loving. Our food is nice. Our culture is superb. Do not hesitate to come to Ghana.
Ghana is an interesting place to be.
Yeah.
Please kindly come. Don't come one. Gather your families and make sure you come and see where your lineage is. Thank you.
So it was indeed a beautiful tour by our tour guide, Sebastian. I love it. We learned a lot about the history of Cape Coast Castle. Well, thank you for watching.
Thank you very much, brothers and sisters all over the world. This is Kenzula Tour, and we want to see you here in Africa, Ghana, someday. Come to your roots. Come to your origin.
All right, he said it all. Come home and let's have fun.
On this happy trip back to the promised land.
Fanti Kenke is a Ghanaian staple made from fermented corn dough wrapped in dry banana leaves, with the best ones generally thought to come from these parts of the country. A visit to Cape Coast or its environs is never complete without tasting or buying this food.
Welcome home. Welcome home. Come on back. Come on back. Come on back. Welcome to where you really belong.
Anapane ising so adasa. Yamena to make to a papa. Zagadas. Yamena to make to a papa.
Ghana is rich in mineral wealth. Gold, diamond, bauxite are a few of them that are mined in large quantities. Currently, the country is the biggest producer of gold in Africa. Let's take a look at the tourist sites we have in Ghana. The Menchia Palace, Kakum National Park, Lake Bosomtwe, National Theatre, Boti Falls are among the known ones.
anapane isim so adasa. Yamena to make to a papa, anapane isim so adasa. Yamena to make to a papa. Yamena to make to a Aquaba, oh sister, I know be a brider. Give me one chance, make I be a fighter, provider. Photo for my man, make I be a pasta. We need Jumuti, make I be a sponsor.
Kenzola team visited the Movenpick Hotel after our journey from Cape Coast Castle, and this is what we experienced. Well, it is indeed one of the best hotels in the country to visit whenever you are in Ghana. Okay, so there are a lot of hotels in the country, but today we are at one of the top-notch hotels in the country called Movenpick. They have excellent customer service delivery with affordable price on hotel rooms, and again with serene environment. Anytime you come to Ghana, do not hesitate to visit Movenpick Hotel. Now, apart from the beauty of the art in Ghana and the warm reception from the citizens, it is also one of the countries which has earned good reputation of being an oasis of peace in West Africa. Although Ghana is a peaceful and safe place to travel, unlike any other country in West Africa, security of citizens and foreigners are very paramount to the country, and over the years, there has been efforts by successive governments to ensure peace, safety, and security for anyone who lives and visits the country. For all that you've seen, wouldn't you like to visit Ghana, a country of peace and enriched with enviable culture, friendly and peace-loving people? My name is Nanekia Pempe, a corporate communicationist and a proud Ghanaian. I therefore recommend you to come to Ghana and invest, network, have fun, and learn more about our beautiful country. I hope to see you soon.
Oh, yes, thank you. I'm a human being in Africa, but a black man in America. African in England. Don't forget where you are from. Ghana down to Suriname.